Scooters, they're the unsung heroes of the motorcycle jungle. They are understated and often overlooked, but they are some of the best machines you could possibly get. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about why scooters make some of the best motorcycles a rider can possibly get. When you think of scooters, perhaps you think of European cities, perhaps you think of riders elegantly making their way to work, or perhaps you think of somebody that got a DUI and now needs a scooter to ride to work. With having owned over 40 motorcycles, I've come to the realization that scooters are some of the best forms of two-wheel transportation. Let's talk about scooters in general. A scooter has a step-through design, and often in America they think of scooters as mopeds, but they're not mopeds. They have a step-through design and generally have a CVT automatic transmission. What that means is that you always have power. You don't have to shift gears. You always have that power. It almost feels like a slower electric motorcycle. The seating position is much more comfortable. You sit behind all of this plastic, and in the winter, it's like 40 degrees out today. You are sheltered behind this plastic, and there's add-ons that you can get to kind of cover your entire body. These scooters are mainly used in Europe and Asia. Like, they're all over the place. They are workhorses, and I think that's why I like this particular scooter. It's a workhorse. I really admire bikes for their transportation commuting abilities, and I think this might be one of the best. There's motorcycles that get scooter-like mileage like the NC700X, but I prefer this one because it's so light. Sitting in a chair-like position makes it much easier. And you could, if you needed a larger commute, you could get something like this that's just much bigger. But I find that the 150 from Honda is really the perfect size for me. So let's talk about engine sizes. Engine sizes on scooters vary, as you can imagine. They start out at 49 cc's, the nifty 50. Those are great scooters, but I find them to be sometimes a little bit dangerously slow. They have a limit of like 25 to 30 miles per hour and a little bit more downhill. You can't go on the highway. You could possibly get hit from behind. That's why if you can afford it and you have a motorcycle license, get this. On the nifty 50s, you don't need a motorcycle license, but you do need a permit or a car license, but it varies based on location. And they range all the way up to the 700s. The Silverwing is a 600, Bergman 650. This one's a 500, and you can see the size difference of this bike. And when you have this, like, even if you get a 600, they're very easy to ride. The beauty of having the automatic CVT transmissions is that you're always on the power. So if you are riding and commuting, a car gets in your way, you can twist the throttle, and you're always with that power band. And when you get something like the 150, 50, 100, you get scooter-like mileage. Like sometimes over 100, 110. This one I believe is like 90 miles to the gallon. This one gets 47 miles to the gallon. So as you get bigger in a scooter, you don't necessarily get great miles per gallon. A motorcycle like my Super Tenere, my ST 1300, FJR 1300, they get 45 miles to the gallon. This gets 47 out of a 500. So you can see it doesn't really make sense for saving gas. It is more of the benefit of the seating position and the comfort and the ease of use. Another thing to mention is that scooters sometimes have smaller wheels. These are 14s on this, and this one's a 15. They vary in size. One thing I do not like about scooters are the small 10-inch wheels that you see on a lot of genuine buddies and Chinese scooters. If you get a scooter, get something with a larger wheel. It rides more like a motorcycle, it's more stable. The smaller wheel is fun, like a Honda Ruckus with a little tiny wheel. It's very flickable. But I find that if you hit a pothole, those wheels are not going to be your best friend. So you're better opting for this because the suspension on a scooter is not great. Not on this one, but it is great on something that's higher end and expensive like the T-Max. Another super great benefit is the storage capacity of scooters. Some scooters do not have storage, especially the early scooters where they had the engine mounted vertically. But nowadays with scooters, the engine kind of faces forward and very low to the ground, so they have under the seat. Even this one's got quite a bit of storage, and that is a beautiful thing about a motorcycle, is having built-in storage. There's motorcycles that do have built-in storage, but most of them have saddlebags, and that keeps the weight a little bit off to the sides. But I prefer something like this, where you'll always have that storage capacity underneath. Styles. They come in various styles. I prefer the kind of sporty look, but there's some bikes like the Honda Big Ruckas, the Honda Ruckas, that look industrial and very cool. And now they have adventure style scooters like the ADV 160, 150, based on this sort of platform. And they also have this, which is a sport version of the scooter that handles really well. And if you like classics like Vespas, they also have that. That seems to be an extremely popular segment, and I do love it, but I find that you pay a premium for the name Vespa. These larger scooters, otherwise known as the maxi scooters, usually over 200 cc's, and the beautiful thing about these maxi scooters is that you can pretty much tour on them. I'm surprised that a lot of people do not go around the world on scooters. You see a lot of motorcycling because motorcycling is seen as cooler. But for me, I think if I didn't have, say, my Honda Africa Twin in Europe, I would be getting this bike. The weight on this one is pretty low, but also scooters, even when they're heavy, this one is extremely heavy for the size. The weight is very centralized and low to the ground. The engine on this is so low, the transmission, everything is like almost horizontal. So when you ride something like this that's heavy, as soon as you get on it, you realize that it doesn't feel heavy. You know, a Honda ST1300 has that feeling as well. The FJR, it's got lower weight, but the weight is higher up, so it feels heavier, especially at low speeds. These are extremely agile. That's why scooters are very popular for commuters in Europe. Now with the adventure market becoming extremely successful and makers are trying to monetize that term, the adventure scooter segment is popping up, and I do love that segment because one of the things that happens is that the motorcycles just keep getting bigger and bigger, and often going back to the basics is one of the better things you can do. Another bike I really loved was the Honda Elite 110. That bike was incredibly good. It had the small wheels, which I didn't like as much, but the underseat storage, sometimes you just like a bike for underseat storage, but the little engine on that thing was incredible. So in the past, I've always looked at motorcycles as workhorses. Get to work, do your work, come back, don't have any problems. And that's for me what motorcycles were. Some people get into motorcycles because they want the fun and the leisure. I got into it because I wanted a reliable, cheap mode of transportation. Only lately I've been buying all of these bikes and like modifying them and fixing them. But at heart, that's what I really look at motorcycles. I want something that's reliable, easy to use, doesn't require a lot of things. And I think that's why the scooter is such a good bargain. The scooter is the ultimate get the job done type of motorcycle. On a motorcycle, sometimes I'm riding by cars, and if you're filtering, you get dirty looks. Sometimes cars will want to block you. But on a scooter, it's just, nobody cares. You're just a guy on a little tiny scooter. They actually feel sorry for you sometimes, and they let you by. It feels like you're just stealthy, as opposed to a motorcycle that just screams for attention. On a scooter, no one gave another look. I squeezed by and no one cared. The bike didn't growl. It was just cute. Scooters are like the stray puppies of motorcycling. There's people that get motorcycles that are loud, obnoxious, and then they ride in traffic. Wouldn't it be better to get a scooter that's just quiet and stealthy and you can do your riding a whole lot more aggressively? I think I need to always keep a scooter in my garage, and I think this one might be the best bike for it. The 150, it is everything that you would want in a scooter. I've had so many bikes, and a scooter in a garage is always important. It's almost like having a pickup truck. it's a backup. It's the best and simplest form of transportation. Many riders will never appreciate the beauty of scooters. It's too slow, it's not cool, but as riders that never care what people thought, I can honestly say that scooters are awesome. As I ride this Honda PCX 150, I urge on you to reconsider scooters. They are the ultimate motorcycles. Scooters glide from point A to B gracefully. That's why scooters deserve a place in every motorcyclist's garage.